Welcome to the Robert Hunt Financial Market Update. It's your host, Robert Hunt. We're looking at the week's financial news. It may be confusing, misleading, and take you off course. We help to make it actionable, understandable, and clear.
What a week, and therefore,
what a show.
Guys, that was no show notes. That's Bobby Hunt, otherwise known as Robert Price Hunt, coming in off the top with zero notes. He just knows it because he's been listening to the podcast enough. He's been digesting the lessons. We've got a show. We have multiple other, well, I say multiple. We have one other guest other than Bobby joining the show. Who do you think it could be, Bob?
Your brother?
Who is that to you?
Uncle Nelly.
Uncle Nelly is joining the show, otherwise known as Nelson Hunt, the tax and estate expert, because we had to call in the big guns, the howitzers, to make sure that we got the right answer. But what we're going to be dealing with is we're going to be looking at some asset class performance data. Nothing can beat that. Just how are we doing year to date? How's everybody feeling? What's the pulse? We're also going to be looking at Trump accounts. This is where Nelson Hunt comes in. There's an article by Adam Michel that says the trouble with Trump accounts, but he doesn't hit on the main trouble. That's why we had to bring in Nelson. Sometimes the Wall Street Journal can err, although I think directionally they're correct. And then, are we stressing over whether your index fund has SpaceX? This article says don't. At the top, we're going to look at some fun data. These are the current drawdowns. When someone talks about a drawdown, this is from top to bottom, how these asset classes have done. What does that top one say, Bob?
SpaceX.
Okay, so SpaceX is down 22% from its top. What's the next one, Bob?
Gold.
Gold is down 24%. What about the next one, Bob?
Meta.
Meta's down 29%. Ooh, Bob, you've got an Xbox. What's this one say?
Microsoft.
What's it down?
31%.
31%. Netflix down 45%. Oracle down 50%. These are drawdowns from top to bottom. That there's a gentleman here on the X.com platform named Ben Carlson who's highlighting these asset classes. What it highlights to me is how difficult it is to pick individual securities and assets. Boy, it's tough. Gold in particular down 24%. And then Oracle, which is a big-time database company, Netflix, Microsoft, these are big, big companies that are down 31, 45, 50. Imagine if you fancied yourself a stock picker, Bob, and you decided, I've got an Xbox. I think Microsoft will do well. And you put all your money in Microsoft and you thought, well, Netflix, yeah, they seem to have a lot of customers. You'd be down 31% on the Microsoft and 45% on the Netflix. That's how hard it is to pick stocks. Let's not do it. And in a data that confirms what we already believe, which is admittedly a lot of the data we find, these are how average investors underperformed indices. So from 1998 to 2017, the average stock investor earned 5.29% when the S&P 500 did 7.2%. So not a great era because you're starting from the late 90s, but that's a big time underperformance, almost 200 basis points, 2% from the S&P 500. And the bonds shocked me. The bond performance from 1998 to 2017, the index, the Bloomberg Barclays Aggregate Bond Index did 4.6%. The average bond investor did 0.44%. That's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, if we ever need a reminder, Bob, to keep your costs low, investing simple, and time horizon
long,
it's this business of needing to get in and out of these stock funds, and therefore you lag the indices, which it's unacceptable. We must never lag the index, Bob. And then and here we go. We just gave you some some negative individual security data. What about some year-to-date returns that are positive? Emerging markets year-to-date through Monday of this week. Emerging markets up 31%. Small caps up 22%. Small cap value up 21%. Value stocks up 15%. Dividend stocks up 12%. Mid caps up 11%. S&P 500 up 10%. And the Mag 7, which are those big boy tech stocks, down 3%. So now, this is Ben Carlson again. He's asking, why is everything beating the S&P 500 this year? When in previous years, I'm sure you heard it, just buy the S&P 500 and forget about everything else. Don't buy anything else. Or people oriented into buying 20 different asset classes. The answer is just to own the world. And by the way, owning the S&P 500 is fine. It's fine. But it just shows you how tough it is to pick which asset class when. And then the meat of the show. This is what all the fans are always asking for, Bob. Nelson Hunt. He's going to opine on Trump accounts. Let's get him on the horn. Bring, 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 bring.
Bling, 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 bling.
Bring, bring. Our switchboard is working here. Let's see if we can get Nelson on the line. Okay, he's plugging in. Okay, here we go. Coming online. What a gift to be able to have in-house counsel on these matters. There's obviously a Wall Street Journal article came out this week. A lot of folks have some confusion with Trump accounts. I brought in an expert, Mr. Nelson Hunt. Please hold your applause for the in-studio audience. Nelson, welcome.
Thank you, Robert.
Great.
Glad to be here. I was giving myself my own applause there.
Oh, great. Yeah, I mean, all that background noise, excuse me. Okay, so, Mr. Hunt, you have been ahead of the curve. The Wall Street Journal has been behind it. And they've been so behind it. I'd love for you just to mention that there's an article this week, and there's actually two articles. Why should people consider pausing on these Trump accounts? What's going on?
Yeah, well, I'll admit I have not read either of those articles, so you're catching me cold. But what is going on and has been going on for a while now is that there's no guidance from the IRS or Treasury that says that gifts to a Trump account qualify for the gift tax annual exclusion.
Mm.
And that's the rule that lets anyone give up to $19,000 per year per donee or recipient without using any of their lifetime gift tax exclusion and without having to file a gift tax return. And so, unfortunately, on Trump accounts, we're still in this kind of unknown area where we think that gifts to the account were probably somewhat intended that they would qualify for the annual exclusion, but the law as written does not provide that. And so technically a gift to the account is a taxable gift and would give rise to a gift tax return filing obligation.
How unfun can it be, right? I mean, this sounds like the most unfun way. What was supposed to be a fun thing, July 4th, obviously the account's open. Everything that I read is not mentioning this at all. So you have a special insight into this, I suppose, that these and these articles aren't necessary for you to read in the Wall Street Journal, Mr. Hunt. They basically say that what they basically say is, it's not tax deductible on the front end, and it's they're taking issue with the account, but they're not understanding the depth of the issue as you understand it. Are your concerns shared by others, or are you alone in this position?
Oh, no, there's other lawyers and CPAs who say the same thing that I'm saying, which is that if you make a gift to the account, you probably have to file a gift tax return and use up some of your exemption.
Wow. And this is Robert Hunt here, not Nelson, but I'm telling people to pause. I'm saying that yellow light, because when July 4th hits, there's going to be a lot of enthusiasm, but it's permissible to take the government's money if your child's born in the last 3 years, right? That doesn't hit anything because it's the Treasury giving the money.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm giving it a yellow light. We're not holding you to anything. We're not making you say anything, but I'm calling based on my conversations with you and your knowledge, your educational background, what you bring to the table. I'm saying yellow light with the hopes that they figure this out so that people don't have to file these gift tax returns. Take the fun out of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would say don't make any gifts to the account until there's some official guidance. And hopefully that guidance would show up on the government's official website. I think it's trumpaccounts.gov. Isn't that it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So hopefully an announcement will be made there, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, thank you so much for being a character in our Mr. Rogers neighborhood. We just love stopping by your door. We love knocking on the door and saying, "Oh, what's Mr. Hunt doing?" and having you give us this insight. Thank you very much on behalf of all the listeners for this insight. And so appreciate you. Anything else you'd like to add that I haven't asked? Anything you'd like to say?
No, that's it. I think you're right to stay on this topic, and thank you for your service. And glad I could help.
Pleasure's on this side of the table. You have a good one.
All right. You too.
Bye-bye. What a great phone call with Mr. Hunt. Really helped us there. And it's a nice segue into Mr. Adam Michel, his article, The Trouble with Trump Accounts. A free $1,000 is nice, but parents' funding is double taxed. He comes in with this angle that, gee whiz, Trump accounts, you give money that it's after-tax dollars. These are dollars that have already been taxed. And then when your child pulls them out, again, it's a traditional IRA. When your child pulls them out, it's taxed again. So this article says, hey, why wouldn't I do a 529 where when I pull the money out, it's tax-free? Or why wouldn't I just invest in a brokerage account? I'll tell you what, I actually think Trump accounts, once they figure out some of the tax gobbledygook that Mr. Hunt outlined, are going to be fine accounts, because what I think will be an interesting strategy is you pump in your Trump account allowable contribution, and then once the child turns 18, you can consider, and we'll have to look at the data, make sure, or the info, make sure it's correct. You go to a Roth account. You convert the Roth account, because the child, hopefully, when they're independent, they will have lower income in that time, and all of a sudden, you've just snuck them over to a Roth without a huge tax hit. So I'm going to be a fan of Trump accounts. I'm just going to be a fan of Trump accounts once they iron out the details, because you got to iron out the details, don't you, Bob?
Yep.
I mean, it's like, if you don't know the details, you're in a bad spot. And then, Bob, do you know anything about SpaceX?
No, not. I know the same owner is the owner of Tesla.
That's right. Mr. Musk does own Tesla as well.
Richest man in the world.
Correct, Bob. Man, where are you picking up all this great knowledge?
I don't know.
He just knows stuff, people. He just knows stuff. Well, this article, Bob, it says, are you stressing over whether your index fund has SpaceX? Don't. And I recognize I've talked about this topic quite a bit, but I think it bears repeating. Mr. Demos says, picking an index just to avoid big IPOs isn't likely to boost returns. So here's what people have been scared about, Bob. They said, oh no, SpaceX, all the money has already been made. They're going to dump it on these poor index funds because it got up to over $2 trillion market cap. And then as it slowly gets dumped in the index, you and me and the rest of the bag holders will be sitting there at these top valuations. Now, it could go to 10 trillion and then we'll be, feeling great about it. But this gentleman, I think, rightly says, keep it simple. Keep it simple. So the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF, which is VTI, which I recommend, it will now include SpaceX. According to this article, I didn't know if that was official, but and it rightly mentions the giant ETF tracking the S&P 500 index will not have it. So if you're an investor, are you going to try to dink and dunk and move your way around? And I'll avoid the indexes that include these IPOs, and I'll find a better index so I'm not what they call a bag holder, Bob. I'm not just taking these companies once they and it's happening a lot with Anthropic, OpenAI, and now SpaceX. These are trillion-dollar companies when they're getting added to the index. Well, this gentleman, I think he rightly shows not a lot of difference here, guys. The S&P 500 and the total U.S. stock market, their performance difference, pretty infinitesimal. So he breaks down just how different it can be and the various companies that IPO'd and what sort of success they had. But here it is. Here it is. I'll give you the data. This gentleman breaks it down. He says, over the past decade through Thursday, the S&P 500 ETF has returned an annualized 15.6%. The total stock market ETF has returned 15.1%. So the total stocks underperformed the big boy stocks, the 500. Now what's going on? When small cap and mid cap lag, wouldn't you know it, the big boys will do well. But not a huge gap. It's not worth orienting your world around. It's not even worth thinking about. Now, when I sit down with a client and they say, what should I invest in? Believe it or else, I just tell them VTI, which is the Vanguard Total Stock Market, for behavioral reasons, Bob. I think they're more likely to stick with it because it owns the mid and small caps. And therefore, if mid and small caps go on a run, I don't want the client thinking, oh, gee whiz, I got to get out of the S&P 500 and I got to buy the VTI, the Total Stock Market. I think if people will stick with it, it doesn't matter, which is what this article says. So over the last 2 years, for example, the total stock market ETF has returned an annualized 18.9% versus 18.5% for the S&P 500. So flipped it. This instance, owning all the stocks basically in the U.S. was better than owning just the 500. So the moral of the story is don't just stand there, do nothing, right? Don't just stand there, which is one of the most difficult things to do as an investor, is just sit there and wait. Is it hard to wait, Bob?
Yes.
Why is it so hard to wait?
Well, it's hard. It's easy to wait if there's something you're not looking forward to do, but if something you're looking forward to, it's easy. It's not easy to wait.
Well said. So if there's something, maybe a chore, it's easy to wait to do that.
Yeah.
But is it hard to wait to play little video games?
Yeah.
I think I'm tracking with you, buddy. So it makes me think, yeah, we need to make sure as investors we are doing what we need to be doing, which is just sitting down and waiting. And what else do we need to be doing as investors? What are we supposed to be doing?
We're supposed to be keeping our costs low, investing simple, time rising long.
Because that is what's going to give us the best shot on our investing journey. We're taking a break next week, so you'll have to listen to old episodes. Great to be with you.